Hey guys, it's Night again with another walkthrough for Dark Souls here. So in this video, I'm going to take you through Anor Londo through its entirety, from start to finish here. And Anor Londo is a huge area, not only in size, but in terms of content and everything too. There are a lot of items to get, and there are a lot of different types of enemies, and just this area is big. So first thing you might want to do, these really aren't required to go get, but they're over here. You can kill this sentinel, you don't have to. I don't really like to fight when I know that this guy lives over here, because he has snuck up on me before while I'm fighting and killed me while I'm fighting these guys. And so over here, these guys are guarding a chest. You can shoot them with arrows or whatever to get their attention. If you can aggro one at a time, that's pretty nice to do, because fighting both of them can be a pain. Now, they're really not that difficult. They just stab and jump and do a couple side sweeps. They do a shield bash on the ground, but it's nothing too bad. You can usually get away from that before it happens. You can even run right between their legs for the shield bash to dodge it. So that's actually pretty nice. And they don't really have that much health. They just have a decent amount of defense. So if you've got something that hits pretty hard, you should kill them in 3-4 hits. Now, my weapon is going to be a lot better by the end of this video, as well as my armor, because I'm going to basically change everything about my character in this video. And that was something that I had mentioned a long time ago. I said, I'm going to use a longsword until we get to Anor Londo, and then I'll be able to pick up my weapon there. I'm planning on using a Silver Knight straight sword. Now, Silver Knights are found later in this area, and they're almost exactly like Black Knights, except that they wield straight swords and spears instead of halberds, great swords, and ultra great swords. In fact, the Black Knights are Silver Knights that have been altered. They went to go fight some demons and got scorched. And so now they have black armor instead of silver armor. And that's kind of cool. But anyway, you're going to run into some Silver Knights later on, and they have some pretty powerful weapons. A lot of people use the sword or the spear that they drop, and you can also get a full set of their armor easy from 2 chests. So I'll be wearing that later too. And they can drop their shields, which have pretty good lightning defense and pretty high stability for a medium shield. But that's for later. For now, we're just going to go ahead and kill these sentinels. You'll notice that the shield is so big that it blocks a lot of stuff. Either you hit them in the foot, you hit him in the head, or you get him when the shield's down somewhere. I'm trying to poison him, and you can do that pretty easily with a few poison arrows, and it'll help you defeat these sentinels. And you can actually kill them by just poisoning them and running away and waiting for the poison to kill them, or at least weaken them so that they're like 1 hit from death. And it's a really safe strategy if you have time and patience for it. I'm only poisoning him because it'll help things go a little faster, I think. Just because a couple hits will add on to the poison damage, and he's losing 3 health per second, which is not bad. There is toxic. If you have the pyromancy toxic mist, you could, I guess, intoxicate these guys, and they'll lose even more health. Pyromancy doesn't really have range like arrows do. So, and all they really sell are poison arrows. There's no toxic arrows. So, poison arrows can help if you're struggling with these guys. They shouldn't be too bad, though. Like I said, they only have a few hundred health. So, if you have a decent weapon, this isn't really a problem for you. Got a giant's halberd. That's not bad. In this chest here, we have Twinkling Titanite. And then if you look over here, don't open this one, because you can see the chain is different. And if you actually look, you'll be able to tell that it's moving, because it's a mimic. You can look at the two chains. You can see that this one's got a sickle shape and the other one's more round. And like I said, if you look here, you can see it breathing. So that's how you tell that that's a mimic. You can also hit it and it'll wake up if it's a mimic. Or it'll just make a funny sound if it's not a mimic. But the chain and the breathing are the easiest way to identify one. And really, it's only there to trick you if you just see a chest and you go like, oh, chest, and then you quickly open it without looking. This mimic drops a crystal halberd, which is a really powerful weapon. It just doesn't have much for durability. So the trick with crystal weapons is that crystal weapons are normal weapons that have been infused with crystal. So this is doing 242 plus 120, which is great. It's like the normal halberd in every way, except that its durability is not 200, it's 20. And you can't repair it. So once the 20 is gone, the 20 is gone. So you really can't use a crystal weapon permanently. You can make more crystal weapons, but you can't have one permanently for the rest of the game. Then the other thing I picked up is the Giant's Halberd, which it tells you is infused with a little bit of lightning because it's made of brass, which is a natural lightning conductor, I guess. And so if you're looking for a lightning-based halberd, you can use the Giant's Halberd, but since it's called the Giant's Halberd, it's huge, it weighs a lot, and you're going to need to have a lot of carry weight to use that weapon and still be able to move. I wanted to point out over here that that area up there is called the Duke's Archives, and we're not going to go there yet. I started running away, but then I decided, you know what, I should probably show you what's up there so that you can see why we're not going up there right now. So I turn around, and I kill this sentinel here. The Duke's Archives is one of 4 areas that you can go to after Anor Londo, and you have to go to it at some point. You're required to go there, it just depends on how you want to play the game. Basically, after Anor Londo, you get a choice of 4 paths that you can take. It doesn't matter which one you do, none of them are harder or easier than any other path. You just go ahead and do that, and once you've done all 4, you can progress to the end of the game. But the reason why you have to choose after you do Anor Londo is because these orangish gold gates here are in the way. And those are in 3 out of the 4 areas. There is one area that doesn't have that, and there's a reason for that, but it's kind of complicated to go over right now without really seeing it. So near the end of this video, I will talk about it some more, and I'll talk about the other paths some more and which one you might want to go do. I'll even try at the end of this video to include some links to each path when I get them uploaded, but those will be obviously after I get this uploaded and everything, so it might take a little bit for the links to show up, but I'll add those so that you can choose your path on how you want to play the game, and hopefully I won't have changed my character that much. He's going to be leveled depending on which way you go, but in the end it really doesn't matter which way you go. I've done every path, every way, pretty much done every combination of those paths that you can think of, so in my opinion there's really no difference. And they kind of tried to design the game to be that way because each path kind of awards the same amount of souls when you're going through it, and each one has a boss that's pretty much the same. So they tried to design it to make it so that you can just choose which way you want to go. Anyway, once you go down the giant lift there, you have to deal with another gargoyle. This one's only a little bit different in that he uses lightning instead of fire breath, but he doesn't do that for me, and there's actually another one that you get to fight, and that one doesn't do it either. But they do lightning attacks instead of fire. Everything in this area, if it's going to do an element of some kind, it's going to be lightning. But with him, just like every other enemy with a tail, you can get behind it and chop it off. He's being a little annoying though because he's not really myself going into a position that I can hit his tail. And his tail is pretty devastating. So I gotta be real careful here so that I don't die. Otherwise, it's not really a long run, but who wants to do that again? So, Gargoyle Tail Axe, if you didn't get that from the boss, you'll get it now. And if you did get it from the boss, you might even get it again. It really doesn't matter. They also have a chance of dropping the halberd and the shield again. And here's another person here. And now we're going to go for a hidden chest, which is this way. It's not really too hidden, it's just kind of out of the way. You would never think to look back here. And it really doesn't provide anything useful. It's Demon Titanite for upgrading boss weapons, but you're probably not going to be using a boss weapon. They're cool, but they have some sort of effect, or they're really more for PvP, that it's not really a huge benefit for PvE. And if you don't want to be down there, like you fell or something, you just run up the stairs, and you run along this little path, or you run the other way, it doesn't really matter. Both drop you off all the way up here at the stairs. So that's the full way around here. But you do eventually want to get down here because this is the only way to go forward. And it's a little weird, but you'll notice if we go straight ahead that we can't. There's a tower thing in our way, and that will just fall. So what we have to do is try and find a way to get around that, and the only way around it is to go this way. So you run up this column, and you jump off here, and go through this broken window. Now you're in this weird rafter area, and we've got these new enemies. These are painting guardians. They drop throwing knives. I think they can drop their sword too. It's been a while, but I'm pretty sure they can drop their sword. And it actually looks more like a dagger, but it's actually kind of a scimitar. I think it's a really short scimitar. It does some bleeding. It's a pretty cool weapon. For you dexterity users out there, I'm sure you'll like it. So you want to go up this ladder here, and then we got to go across these narrow rafters, which is kind of annoying and a little scary because you get hit and you can fall off. Now, them hitting you is not going to do enough knockback to knock you off here, but it's still something you got to be careful of, because if you're not paying attention and you get hit with one of their swords or something, you could fall off if you're near the edge. But likewise, you can also fight them and they'll be near the edge where they can fall off too. And hitting this chain here causes this giant chandelier to crash to the floor at the bottom, which means we can get down there. It's just going to be a little later. Thank you, chain. There we go. So you can play the bow game, you can shoot these guys. That guy fell. So that's one less guy you gotta deal with. And there's another one back there, but he's not near an edge. So you can try and shoot him, but he's only just gonna come running after you. But you can try and shoot him when he's running along the path or something, see if you can knock him down. And as he's running this way, you can probably hit him and kill him before he even gets to you. So now the rafters are all clear. You don't really have to worry about it. If you do have to fight these guys melee, try to fight them around these weird angle corner things, because there's more footing. You can see some people, they're just not paying attention and they fall right down. And the only way back up here is the way we came, which is a bit of a run, and you don't want to have to deal with that. So going through this fog is not a boss, so you don't have to worry about that, but there is a chest over here. And how you get to that is a little weird. There's also a guy down here, which he's more meant to ambush you if you try to go get the chest. So I want to show you that he's here, because this area is pretty symmetrical. So if there's a guy on this side of the room, there's probably going to be a guy on the other side of the room, since you can see that this is pretty much the same. I will show you what's behind this fog so that you don't have to worry about it. You go through and you have a lever over here and access to the lift tower thing that's in the middle blocking our way. That's the way you need to go. And if you don't want to worry about the chest right now, you don't have to. But it's really not too difficult to get to. You just gotta fall down here by the statue, and then you can run and jump over here. Now, I don't even know if you have to run and jump. I just think that's the safest way. But remember, there will be a guy here, because they like to do symmetry. And so after you kill him, let's see if he drops anything. And just open your chest for a divine blessing. It's not a mimic, so you don't have to worry about that. You can tell by the chain again. And then you just hop back down here and run and jump through this column thing. Back up the staircase where we killed the first painting guardian that was up here. There he is. And go out the fog. So a small detour for a divine blessing. Divine blessings aren't that great. I mean, they're awesome, but you only have like 2 of them. And you're probably not going to equip them to use them, so you're probably just going to forget about it. But if you are happening to use those and you want more, that's another one for you. We get a short little video there of us moving the tower down, which shows that the path is now connected the way we want it to be connected, so that we can run from the bonfire all the way over here and then across to the big staircase. Gargoyle halberd and shield. That's kind of cool. And so now you can run ahead here and go up this big staircase. Pretty cool. That's the way you need to go at some point, but there is a bonfire around here. You actually have to send the lift down again, and then you go down even more and you can access another bonfire. I'm actually getting invaded. I'm gonna quit. That's one way. If you don't want to be invaded, you can quit out of invasions. It's not really the most, like, acceptable thing. People get kind of upset if you quit out of an invasion, because this is part of the game, is being invaded. But I'm doing a walkthrough, and I really don't want to be invaded right now, because I'm nowhere near the first bonfire, and I'm trying to show another hidden bonfire, and I just don't need to die right now. So if you take your thing here and you push it again, the tower will lower even more, and if you go down these stairs, you'll eventually end up to this other bonfire. I don't know why I'm taking such a long time. I could be sprinting. And see, we're now at the bottom of the big staircase that you have to go across later. Down here is a bonfire. It's kind of hidden. I didn't even know it existed when I first played. You pick up a ring here. There's your bonfire. And you can kindle this if you want, if you feel like running from here, but you're gonna have to go up that giant staircase, which means you have to raise the lift every time you want to go up the big staircase, which is kind of annoying, but whatever. It doesn't really matter too much. It's kind of a crappy run either way. And now you probably have noticed this giant statue of Gwyn here, and we picked up an item in the catacombs, which is the Darkmoon Seance Ring. First I'll show the Ring of the Sun's Firstborn though, because we just picked this up. It's basically a ring for boosting miracles that do damage. So there are like lightning-based miracles and projectile-based miracles, and so those will do more damage when you wear that ring. I don't know why my bonfire went out. Typically that's a sign of invasion, but I shouldn't be getting invaded because you can't invade in here. Well, weird. Anyway, the Darkmoon Seance Ring is a ring we picked up in the catacombs, and it tells you get additional attunement slots for wearing it, and it's granted to followers of Gwendolyn, who's the last deity in Anor Londo, and so his followers wear that, and if you wear it near this statue, it actually goes away, and now you're gonna talk to Gwendolyn.
Halt! This is the tomb of the great Lord We'll. Tarnished it shall not be by the feet of men. If thou art a true disciple of the Dark Sun, cast aside thine ire. Hear the voice of mine self, Gwendolyn, and kneel before me.
So you really have two options here. You want to kneel. You don't even want to try to go through the fog right now because it's a boss. You don't want to fight Gwendolyn because Gwendolyn's an optional thing, and if you're at all interested in online invasions, then you really don't want to do that. Plus, he's probably too strong for us right now anyway. So the cracked red eye orb is used to invade people and kill them in their own world, and when you do that, you acquire sin. This covenant here is dedicated to killing sinners.
O disciple of the Dark Sun, thou hast journeyed far. Hear my voice. If thou shalt swear by the covenant to become a shadow of Father Gwyn and Sister Guinevere, a blade that shall hunt the foes of our lords, then I shall protect thee, safeguarding thy person with the power of the Dark Moon.
So you can say yes or no. If you say no, he just says, very well.
Very well. We shall not need speech. Exit here and follow thine own design.
And that's not supposed to happen. That's just convenient. Somebody kindled their bonfire and I got a flask, and it happened to look like me leaving did something, but it didn't. So don't worry about it. And you can go back at any time, wearing the ring or not, and talk to him and join, which is what I'm going to do here. Like I said, you can traverse the white light or the fog. You don't want to, though. Just don't do it right now. We will get to a point where we will do that, but don't do it right now.
O disciple of the Dark Sun, thou hast, if thou shalt a shadow, a blade, then I... Very well. Now thou art a blade of the Dark Moon, hunteth the enemies of the lords by the power of the Dark Sun.
So basically, offering these souvenir of reprisals is the way you rank up in this covenant. And how you do that, how you get those, is there is an enemy you can farm for them, and then you can turn them in, which is what a lot of people do. But this blue eye orb they give you is an online item that you invade the world of a person in the Book of the Guilty. And so your goal is to go and kill them, and then the souvenir of reprisal is an ear. And so you cut off their ear as a token that you killed them, and then you run back here and you can turn it in. Now, this is the other covenant to the ones that use the cracked red eye orb, and likewise, they get a red eye orb that doesn't break, which is the counter to this blue eye orb, and it means that if you join that covenant, you can invade anybody at any time and kill them as many times as you want, as long as they're online and able to be invaded. You also get this Darkmoon Covenant ring, and this is just for a special occasion if somebody's trespassing Anor Londo by kind of finding out Gwendolyn's biggest secret, then you can get invaded by the Darkmoon Blade people who are sworn to protect this area. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, so there's 2 covenants. A lot of people pick the red one because the red one can invade anybody without any restrictions. And the red one gives some good rewards. But that whole thing is dedicated to getting humanity and then using that humanity to fortify your own strength and stuff. This covenant is dedicated to more of a magic-based thing. If you join the Blades of Darkmoon and you do what they say, you get the power of Darkmoon, which is actually pretty powerful. So like, at rank 1 you get a Darkmoon Talisman, which is the best faith-scaling talisman in the game. There's really nothing better than that. And then at like rank 2 you get Darkmoon Blade, which is a weapon buff for clerics that does magic damage on your weapon, but it scales so high with faith that it makes your weapon absolutely devastating. And it's pretty awesome. The only trick to it is that in order to use those items, you have to be in the Covenant. If you betray them by attacking Gwendolyn, then you have to clear your sin and talk to Gwendolyn again, or if you kill Gwendolyn, you're screwed. You have to wait until the next game cycle to join and use that again. Plus, when you leave a Covenant, you lose half of your offerings. So if you join Gwendolyn's Covenant, say you turned in 29 souvenirs of reprisal, and 30 is for rank 2, then when you leave, you lose half of 29, which I think this game rounds up, so you'd lose 15. So you'd have to go get 16 souvenir of reprisals to get back up to 30 to get your reward. So basically, joining a Covenant, if you rank up in it at all, you pretty much never want to leave it, otherwise you're going to lose your accumulated thing, and you're going to have to go back and either earn your way back up there, or just never join again. Now, most Covenants don't have something where it's like, hey, you join, you get to use this, you leave, you don't get to use this. There are only a few things that happen like that, but that's kind of just what you have to choose when you choose a Covenant. So, those groups are supposed to... It's supposed to make invaders kind of suffer for their invasions. It used to be a thing where, like, you would think, alright, there are some not-so-good players out there that get invaded and they die. And so, to punish the people that went and killed those people, who basically made them lose part of their game progress, and they would have to run all the way back and collect their souls and everything, this Covenant used to be dedicated to kind of avenging those people, which is a really, really cool idea, except the only problem is that in order to invade one of those sinners is that they have to be online, and they have to have sinned, and they have to be in your soul level range, because you can't have an end game person invading a beginning game person, or a person in a later game cycle invading a person in an earlier game cycle. And so there were a lot of strings attached to it, and what basically ended up happening is if you joined the Darkmoon Covenant and wanted to do that, it was really hard to find people to invade. Now, that's not always the case. It's just more guaranteed if you join the other one that you'll be able to invade. And obviously, if you're using the item, you're trying to go ahead and invade other players to kill them, to test your skill against other real people. So it was kind of a turnoff for a lot of people, and not a lot of people still do it. But it is a pretty cool Covenant idea. And in Dark Souls 2 and 3, they tried to improve upon it a little bit so that not only are you avenging these people that are getting invaded, but you also are there to defend them when they're invaded, which is another really cool idea. So anyway, that's just my take on that Covenant. So if you run up the staircase without raising the lift, you can get to the bottom of the rafter room, and you're just going to have a lot of painting guardians to fight, which is why I didn't really mention anything. The chandelier that crashes has great magic weapon, which is more powerful than magic weapon. It scales better with your intelligence. So if you're going with a high intelligence sorcerer build and you're deciding to buff your weapon for some extra damage because it'll scale with your intelligence stat and cause magic damage by doing that, you can pick up great magic weapon and it'll be a lot better for you. There's also another one to improve upon that called crystal magic weapon, and the only downside to these is that while they scale better and make your weapon cause more damage, they have less castings. So normal magic weapon might have like 6 or something, great magic weapon might have 3, and crystal magic weapon might have 1. And those are kind of the downsides. So you'll notice the giant painting in this room. Technically, if you have the peculiar doll that we picked up from Undead Asylum, you can go in there. The only problem is if you go in the painting, you can't leave unless you defeat the area boss, which means basically going through the whole area. I will do that later. It's not something that you really want to go do now, because the enemies in there are a little bit difficult, and it's just a huge side area. Let's try and get Anor Londo done, and then you're going to find out why doing Anor Londo is like one of the key things. Basically, when you get there, you want to finish it, because it's hard, but it's rewarding. And so next, we're going to run up the giant staircase, and here's where your run of terror is about to start. Unfortunately, they make this path kind of terrible. This isn't so bad. You have a couple sentinels that you can fight, but this whole area, this whole Anor Londo area, giving you a ton of souls, and then they punish you so hard by making you go down paths that are really annoying. And you'll see what I'm talking about. Everybody dreads what's coming up next, and unfortunately, it is required to go through. There's no way around. There's really no way of making anything easier. It's just what you gotta do. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up, because killing sentinels can be annoying. I'm trying to poison this one to make my job just a little easier. And especially with these guys, they like to back up and go back to their spot and basically get the help from the one that's next to them. That makes things super annoying, because you really just want to fight one at a time. So try to kill one, then run up here and kill the other one. It can take some time. It's really hard to tell if the video is actually watchable at this point, because my preview that I'm seeing right now is just staggering everywhere. And so now you'll notice that the big door that they were guarding was not something you were able to go through. So we have to go this way. There's no other way to go. You have to go this way. And so you're going to deal with these bat demons, which they're not too difficult. They do lightning damage with their spears too. And the ones on the edges like that, you can shoot, and it knocks them back a little bit. If you shoot them in the head, they writhe in pain, but they stand in place. So if you hit the one that's like on the point of this round platform here, then if you hit him in the wing, he gets sent flying back like that, and he can fall off. Easy 500 souls is the point. You saw how I did it, so you can do it yourself there too. And now, the only problem is that they really like to join up together. You can have 2 or 3 attacking you at once, which is just not fun. It'd be kind of a pain to try and kill any of them. Especially since they do these giant, like, lunges. You can really get outnumbered and outmaneuvered pretty easy from these guys. So take it easy. If you have a bow or something, you might try and shoot one to death. Like, this one's almost dead. So I'm just going to go ahead and shoot him. And if you hit them, they should stagger backwards. The problem is that they just go so far that you really can't hit them. I had this one drop a demon spear, which is basically like a normal spear, except it's lightning infused. And it's actually got pretty good scaling in strength and dexterity. So it does 100 physical plus 58 for me, and 120 lightning. Durability 400, that's pretty nice. And it tells you from the Batwing demons you get this weapon. And they're wandering through Anor Londo, and they're basically a weird type of demon, because most demons are strong with fire. They either use it or they're really resistant to it. And these guys use lightning, and they're resistant to lightning. They don't do fire too well. So, just kind of a little lore tidbit. So over here, we're going to have more Batwing demons. You can get them to kind of go over here, and they get stuck in the little path here. That one fell. And then we got one more. If my sword didn't hit the wall there, then we wouldn't have gotten hurt, but whatever. So now this is where your nightmare starts. You've got to make it up this path, and there are 2 archers, but they're not just any archers. They use great bows and great arrows. Stuff used to hunt dragons, according to the game lore. And they're using it against you, which means if you get hit with one of these, you're not necessarily dead, but you get sent so far backwards that you usually fall off the edge of wherever you're standing. And of course, these guys are standing on narrow pathways, which means that you're basically dead. You have to run across here and dodge these, or be running in a direction and get hit with one of these arrows so that you don't die. So you can try and roll like this, but eventually you're just going to reach some timing or something that's terrible. For me, I got staggered and then hit there, because I wasn't expecting a shield bash. I almost made it too. If you can make it that far and make it past that guy, you can avoid being shot by arrows. Now, that's going to be a really annoying and really hard area for you to go through. Everybody struggles with that their first time. They end up dying a million times. There are people that report that takes them hours just to get past that part because of how difficult it is. So hopefully you have good luck and you can roll and dodge those, or maybe you wear heavier armor so that you don't get staggered, or whatever your deal is. My character is going to wear some light armor and do some light rolling, because I found that I can dodge those arrows a lot easier than I can actually try and defend against them. So that's my strategy. It's still pretty difficult. I die a couple times, so I'll cut the video to where I actually make it to a safe spot. So this was my successful run. This was my 4th attempt up here, actually. It's not too bad for me. Let me grab my stuff. I'm trying to roll and dodge the arrows as when I think they're going to show up. But if you can make it to this spot, you can try and position yourself so that this column to your right is in the way of the other archer. The only problem is if you get too far away from this Silver Knight, he's going to try and shoot you with his bow, which doesn't help anybody. So try and get to a point where you can look over and you can see, alright, you're safe from that archer. Then you just got to fight the Silver Knight, which a lot of his sword attacks are very similar to a Black Knight with their sword, the normal great sword that you can pick up, which if you're able to parry that, you're going to notice the movesets are pretty similar. If you can't parry that, you'll learn from Silver Knights eventually, but your goal is to try and kill that Silver Knight, because now you have one archer. And you can either block this, or you can roll dodge it, like I am here. And when you get close enough to this guy, he should want to switch to his weapon, which you can then parry and riposte to punish him. And hopefully you can attack him and kill him with your next hit. If you can't, just try and fight in the corner. And hopefully you can kill those guys. Once you do that, it's pretty easy. You just gotta fall down here, go through this white light, and go to the first door on your left. And inside here you'll find a bonfire and Solaire. It's best to go ahead, light the bonfire, and rest at it, because that saves your spot as this spot here. And then you can make your character whatever he was before. For me, it's putting on all his armor again. And you can make yourself human again. Do whatever you gotta do to make everything back to normal. Go ahead and kindle this bonfire too, especially because I find this is the shortest run to the boss of this area from here. It's pretty easy. And here's Solaire again, you can talk to him. But don't be like this guy here that puts his message right there, because it's really annoying.
These days? Smooth summoning out there? Anytime you see my brilliantly shining signature, do not hesitate to call upon me. You've left me with quite an impression. I would relish a chance to assist you. You really are fond of chatting with me, aren't you? If I didn't know better, I'd think you had feelings for me. Oh no, dear me, pretend you didn't hear that. You really are fond of chatting with me, aren't you?
So now, go ahead and kindle, like I said. I think this is the easiest run to the boss of this area, which, that can be debated. Some people run from the first bonfire because it's already kindled. Some people run from the secret one that I showed you because it's a little easier in their opinion. Because there is a shortcut so that you don't have to go up that annoying path that we just got past. I find it easier to run in here. You gotta kill 3, maybe 4 Silver Knights, and then you can make it to the boss once you've got all the shortcuts and everything unlocked. So this is my area. I like to kindle that up. And for people that put messages in my way, I downvote those instantly because that's super annoying. I can't open doors, I can't talk to people because your message is in the way. So, not that it's gonna do anything, but I guess I feel better. So now, Silver Knights, you can get this really long spear that this one has, you can get a shield, and you pick up their armor from a chest. Not this chest. It's actually a couple separate chests, and we'll get there. It's in a couple minutes. You can also get the sword from the Sword Knights. I timed that completely wrong. And so my goal by the end of this video, before I do the boss, is to go ahead and basically become a Silver Knight. Because their armor is really resistant to lightning. This boss happens to do lightning damage. The Silver Knight weapons are some of the best weapons in the game just for their damage. They do require some pretty high stats, like the sword is 22 dexterity and 16 strength. But it's a really long sword. It's even longer than my long sword. And the damage, I think at the end of this video, is like base damage for the sword fully upgraded is like 245, and then I think my scaling was plus 80. So I was doing over 300 damage with a hit with just a straight sword, which is really awesome. So in this hidden room here, you can pick up Havel's gear, which we got the ring from Havel when we killed him, but this is where you get his armor and weapons and shield. And don't be fooled, this is another mimic. There are a couple more mimics in this area. He shouldn't be too difficult, just watch out for the grab attack. And that's the mimic. Now he drops something pretty interesting. He drops this occult club, which is no different than a normal club, except it's got a infusion of occult, or an enchantment of occult. An occult is weird. It's basically like a god-killing enchantment. So when we fight specific like deities, it does more damage. It's really weird, it's hard to describe, and it's only effective in a couple things. And you're not going to get invaded by a person unless you just happen to be coincidentally lucky. But this guy, he's wearing Havel's armor. He's got a dagger. He's trying to parry me. He's really not trying to damage me. He might be trying to make me bleed or something. Anyway, this is a really long fight. I end up dying anyway because he just keeps blocking against all of my attacks and it never really goes anywhere. He ends up winning because he starts using an element, and I totally wasn't ready to fight a person. So, I'm going to cut the video, and then I'll be back with some more actual walkthrough. So, back to where I was. I got myself all back to normal. That guy had some weapons and stuff that I don't have yet. He's got, like, a couple spells I don't have yet. And basically, he's been through this area, he's been through like a couple other areas, just hasn't leveled up his character, and he's waiting to kill people, which is fine. I mean, that's part of this game, so it was just kind of difficult to fight somebody who's got stuff you don't have, and you have really no defense against it, because you're not ready, so. Anyway, you killed that Silver Knight over there, you run up the stairs. You don't have to kill this one, but I am hoping to pick up their gear. I don't really care if I get a spear or not, because I want to use the sword. But there's always a chance, and I missed an item to the left. I don't know how I missed that, but I find myself missing things when I'm watching the video. But anyway, I don't really care about the spear because I want to use the sword. But the spear knights still have a chance of dropping a shield, which is a pretty good shield to use. And they have a chance of dropping other things, depending on what type they are. Really, the spear knights have a spear and a shield they can drop. The other knights, like the sword knights, sometimes have a bow, like one of the Dragonslayer bows and arrows, and they can drop some arrows. I picked up a symbol of avarice from that one. I forgot about that. So when you use your Lloyd talisman, you don't kill your mimic, and so there's a potential every time you wake them up of dropping the symbol of avarice. And same if you go to kill them, but basically waking them up is almost like killing them, and it basically resets your loot. So instead of killing them, you can keep waking them up until one drops a symbol of avarice. What it does, really, is it provides more souls and more item discovery, like significant 200 item discovery, but it doesn't stack with your gold serpent ring. So if you put it on, it's heavy, and it actually drains your health when you wear it, but you get 2 benefits out of it instead of having to wear each ring, which we don't have the other serpent ring that increases souls. It's an alternative. But you should have the gold serpent ring. The symbol of avarice is optional, really. If you kill every mimic in the game, the last mimic in your playthrough will drop a symbol of avarice if you don't have one. But I managed to get one, which is something that doesn't usually happen, so pretty cool. Anyway, you want to follow the path like my character was taking. I was so busy talking and showing off the symbol of avarice that I didn't really talk about the path. But you get to that rooftop, you kill the archer, Silver Knight. Then you run down here, and you want to go right. You can hear that weird breathing. That's actually a Titanite demon. You've probably heard it before when we were near other Titanite demons. There's another one if you would have gone left instead of right, but he's got a lot of health and not something you want to do without opening up the shortcut down here. Because this is one of the shortcuts in this area. It makes things a lot easier. And so I'm running through here and I'm hoping for a Silver Knight spear or sword or shield. Really the spear just to have one because I like to collect things. But I don't end up getting my sword or shield while I'm killing all these guys. So I have to cut the video and do a little farming and then come back to it, but that's a little later. And so in these 2 chests, you pick up the Silver Knight gear. Like this armor here and the gauntlets and the leggings. It's all better than the Elite Knight stuff. It just weighs more. Might have a little less poise, but it has higher defenses. My guy looks kind of weird. I don't really like the Silver Knight helmet that much, but the more you wear it, the more you get used to it. You can try and wear like the Elite Knight helmet, but it doesn't really match. And besides, the Silver Knight helmet is blue in everything except for like maybe Curse or something, and Poise or something like that, or Durability. So really, you can mess around, but you're probably not going to find anything that's going to look too great with it other than the gear itself. So I just stick with the helmet. And I actually get invaded again while I'm digging around here. You can hear that sound, that means invasion. I try to quit, but of course when you hear that sound, it's too late. I don't know why I thought I could quit, but I'll put on the helmet. And I was going to fight this Titanite demon, but getting invaded means that I'm going to have to worry about another guy. So instead of going and killing the demon and progressing with my walkthrough, I'm going to have to deal with this invader. Now this guy isn't very great at PvP. I can't say I'm that great at PvP either, but I kind of know how to parry, and I kind of know how to time attacks and dodge and switch things up a little bit. And I managed to beat this guy, which is pretty satisfying, but he's really not that great. So I figure since I'm waiting for this guy, I should kill this Silver Knight, just in case he decides to run away. Because a lot of invaders, when they lose or start to lose, they run away and try to hide behind your world's enemies, which can be really annoying, and there's no way to fix it in this game. There is a way to fix it, though, in the later games, and make those enemies hostile towards your invader, too. And so anyway, I'm running through here, and I'll meet my invader right now. And he's all ready to go. He's wearing Silver Knight stuff. He's got his stamina regeneration stuff on. And he's trying to throw lightning at me. That's lightning spear. He's really trying to get me with that. You don't really even have to dodge, but sometimes lag is funny and something can be thrown at you and not look like it, so it's just better to dodge. And he tries to use Gravelord Greatsword Dance, that's what that is, to attack. And he's also a blue invader, not red, because I have sinned. And even though I requested absolution, I think when I joined the Blades of Darkmoon, I sinned because I quit my other covenant improperly. So I think that puts me on sin, and so this is a blue spirit of vengeance instead of a dark spirit that's out to kill me. This guy is supposed to be avenging somebody, even though I didn't go and kill people. But you can see he's trying to use miracles to attack me and trying to heal in the middle of our battle. As an invader, there's really no way to heal except for popping humanity, which he may not have, which is why he's trying to use healing. And when he realizes that doesn't work so well, he starts to use his melee weapon here. Like I said, I'm not that great in this game for PvP, but neither is this guy, so at least we're pretty even. But he's blocking a lot, and he's not trying to parry, and he's spamming his sword repeatedly. I'm doing the same thing, but it's because I know he's not even trying to parry. And so I try to use my fireball, but that doesn't work. He tries to heal, pulls off some healing, but I hit him and basically get him down to where he's starting to run away. He doesn't know what to do, he's trying to run away from me, and I end up hitting him and killing him anyway. So, dear invader, that was a fun fight, I guess, on my side. And, yeah, thanks for the fight. Thanks for the 8,000 souls. And so, anyway, here is your Titanite demon that is hiding in this room. But notice I'm really not doing that much damage to it. It's also draining a lot of my stamina. It's more powerful than the ones in Sen's Fortress. It's more powerful than the one in the catacombs that I went and fought. Which means that this one's kind of out of my league just because he's more powerful and I'm not really that much more powerful. So you can skip him. He's completely optional. I just hate their heavy breathing sound, and that's kind of annoying. So I wanted to kill him. He'll drop 2 Demon Titanite for killing him. And I decide that my weapon is not doing the damage I want it to do. And then I remembered I have that crystal halberd we picked up in here. Well, actually by the first bonfire, but in this area, Anor Londo. And so if you look, you can find the crystal halberd. 242 plus 120. That is terrific damage. And even though the durability's low on it, in this game they're pretty nice with the whole durability thing. So you can use this weapon to kill this guy and not have to worry about it breaking. So now doing 131 per stab and getting 1 or 2 stabs means I'm doing almost like 300 damage, which is a lot better than 70. And things are going a lot better now. He still does more stamina damage and hits harder than any other Titanite demon we've fought so far. But that's something you kind of have to get used to because there's going to be an even harder one later. But by that point, you could be leveled up more. So you can see the benefit of a crystal weapon. You can make any weapon a crystal weapon. So you can make a crystal longsword or something and have it do really great damage and still scale. It's just that, again, eventually it'll break and you won't be able to repair it. And so we got some Demon Titanite. Time to go back to my longsword. Wherever it happens to be. And we'll continue on. So we're getting to a point where we're going to open up another shortcut. Not quite yet. Watch out for this archer on the other side of the room. You'll get this message when you approach the mid-level there. It says you feel the black eye orb quivering. Just remember on this lower level or mid-level that you can use that thing. And that's how you relight the bonfire at Firelink Shrine, is by using that. We'll cover that later. But you want to push that lever so that you can open up the big doors that are right past at the top of those giant stairs before you had to go across that really crappy windowsill run with the Silver Knights. I said you couldn't open it from that side. Now we've got it open. So technically you can run from the first bonfire all the way up into here without having to go across that window ledge. I just wanted to get that open just to show you if you wanted to leave for whatever reason, say you're kind of done with Anor Londo, it's too hard, or you want to get a different weapon or whatever, you can open up those doors, run back to the first bonfire, and eventually back to where we dropped into Anor Londo from, and you can leave and go back to Sen's Fortress now, if you want. I don't really advise switching weapons if you're planning on getting a Silver Knight weapon like I am, because the Silver Knight weapon will be better than whatever weapon you've got. It just might be a little hard to kill Silver Knights, but you don't have to run through Anor Londo. You can just keep killing a spear or sword Silver Knight repeatedly and resting at a bonfire until you get whatever you're looking for. So over in this area,
Whatever can be
we've
done.
got Siegmeyer again, who's thinking again.
Ah, you again. Let me guess. Were you repelled by the Silver Knights? Ah, don't be ashamed. 'Tis the fate of vanguards like you and I. I'll think of something. We can overcome this together. This is quite a fix. We'll need another 3, no, maybe 5 bodies. Quite a fix indeed.
So right now he's not really making much sense, because he's talking about how he's repelled by Silver Knights. He's talking about this room. There are 3 Silver Knights in here, and he's basically saying they're pretty difficult, and if you can't make it through this room like he can't, well, that makes sense. Maybe you guys can work something out together. But you are just so awesome at this point at killing Silver Knights, because that's all there is in this area, that you should be okay to take these guys out. Especially if you can parry them like I can. That was bad timing there. Demon Titanite again. So we're just getting a ton of Demon Titanite, which I don't really plan on using, but at least there's an abundant supply somewhere.
Oh ho! What's on your mind? Wait! You defeated those monsters? Fantastic! I'm saved! This Knight of Katarina hereby commends you. Take this as a token of my gratitude. But be warned, gallantry entails great risks. Next time, give me a chance to come up with a plan. But be warned, next time.
So basically, he gives you that Tiny Beings ring, which was a starting gift if you chose it. Now, the description says for the starting gift that it'll increase your health over time, like it'll restore it over time. That's not true. It just gives you a little bit more of your maximum health bar. I guess it's not a bad ring if you're looking for a little bit more health, but you only have 2 ring slots, and I think there are better rings. And so after doing that, you've pretty much cleared out most of Anor Londo at this point. All we've really got to do is that Black Eye Orb invasion thing for the Firekeeper and Firelink Shrine, so that we can have Firelink Shrine back. And we've got to go meet a blacksmith and unlock another shortcut thing. So the quickest way to get into the blacksmith area and that main hall where we opened up the big doors is by going this way. And I know I've been running around in circles a lot because this place goes in circles, so it can be kind of confusing where you are, but I just ran from the bonfire to this point, so you should have this shortcut unlocked if you've been following along, and your run gets pretty simple. You run from the bonfire, you kill the Sword Silver Knight, you go into this room and kill these 2 Silver Knights. There's a Silver Knight spear. And then you run up these stairs. You go right. You go up these stairs. And boom, you're in this main hall area. And this will take us to a blacksmith. The safest way to get to that blacksmith is to go this way. You can run up here to these windows, and there's a broken window there we'll go through. We'll grab a Dragonslayer great bow and some great arrows. And we want to go down this path to our blacksmith. And so meet the giant blacksmith. You're gonna like this guy because he sells just about everything you need to upgrade weapons, and he makes a lot of different types of weapons too. So he sells normal Titanite shards, large ones, green ones, and twinkling Titanite, which is just about everything you need. He also sells a lot of different types of arrows, which I'm gonna buy some arrows. He sells some armor and stuff too. He's also kind of guarding a ring, but if you roll, you can kind of get past him to the point where you can open up the chest. Get the hawk ring. I think the idea was you were supposed to kill him to get it, but you can kind of roll past him and get through there and pick it up. He doesn't get upset or anything, so it's okay to do. And the hawk ring is actually one of the 4 rings for the Knights of Lord Gwyn. And so there was the wolf ring for poise. What the hawk ring does is it gives your bows more range. So if you pair that with the black bow of Ferris, which is the bow that has the most range, that gives your arrows a really long reach for full damage. And if you use feather arrows on top of that, which is the arrow with the most range, it basically means you can shoot an incredibly long distance without any drop to your arrow. And when your arrow drops, it loses damage. So if you can shoot a long ways away without any arrow drop, that means you're basically getting full arrow damage from that distance, which basically makes you a sniper class character, which is kind of cool, except a lot of times you're going to have to be up next to an enemy to kill them, and if you do the bow build, you're going to have to buy a lot of arrows, which can get annoying. But running out here, killing these bat demons, lets us open up that door there, which is small enough for us to run through and for the sentinel to just get stuck in. So we'll run up these stairs here, and we'll go through that broken window, which will allow us to pick up the great bow, and then we'll have to drop back down. And so it's always safest to open up that shortcut before you go through this window. At least open up the 2 giant doors in this area, because if you go down here like I'm going to go down here, you can see where the problem might be. You have to make this fall here. You can kind of bounce off like that. If you bounce off the other way and you haven't opened either shortcut, you have to go back across that whole window thing with the Great Bow Archer Silver Knights that you probably struggled to get across to get to the bonfire in here. So make sure you open up at least one of the shortcuts before, just in case. Because there was a time where I didn't, where I'm like, I got this, and then I fell, and guess who had to make that crappy run again? This guy. So don't be like me, open up a shortcut, and save yourself. And so if you exit the blacksmith area, go left, you basically make a full loop around the upper rafter area in this room. And you can kill that archer that's on this other side here. Again, another possible chance for a sword or a shield. But typically these guys drop arrows. And that golden summon sign there is Solaire, and you can summon him for the boss fight here, which might make your world a little easier, but this is still a tough boss. But we're not ready to do the boss quite yet anyway. These sentinel guys wearing the capes, you might see that they're a little different than normal sentinel guys. These are elite sentinels, and they're actually given some miracles to attack with too. So when they get low in health, they can heal themselves. They can also use Wrath of the Gods, which is that big area of effect white orb explosion thing that Paladin Leroy was able to do, and it's pretty powerful. These guys get to do that too, and it's more of a pain to kill these guys. But as such, they drop 3,000 souls when you kill one of them, so they're better than normal sentinels. They do have a little bit more health, but these are just the better enemy to kill if you can kill them effectively. They also drop Titanite chunks, which you can't buy Titanite chunks in this game, which is something you need if you're going to upgrade your weapon past level 10, a normal weapon that is, like a longsword. If you want to upgrade that past level 10, you need Titanite chunks, and since you can't buy them, you're going to have to farm them from an enemy or pick them up somewhere. So you can kill these guys repeatedly for 3,000 souls and for a chance of a Titanite chunk, which will help you later for sure. In my opinion, there's an easier enemy to farm and kill for Titanite chunks, but that's a little later. That's not in Anor Londo. You don't even have the Ember, though, to make weapons past level 10 yet, so it's not really going to matter too much. It's just a matter of stockpiling what you can right now. And so that sound over there was the other sentinel healing himself. But if you get a good plunging attack, you can do anywhere from a couple hundred to like 400 or 500 damage with a plunging attack on these guys. Just because your plunging attack will effectively like hit twice. So if you do normally like 250 on a plunging attack, you might do like 500 because you basically hit them twice during your plunge, which is pretty cool. So now we're going to run up these stairs and try to use the black eye orb. But first I noticed that I was getting invaded, so I quickly quit so that I'm not getting invaded, because that would have been like my 4th invasion in this one video, which is kind of annoying. And so if you ever have doubts if you're being invaded or something, put on something that requires you to warp away or go into a new area, and if you can't use it, then you're probably being invaded. So going up here allows you to use the black eye orb, which it's weird that they have a red eye orb, a blue eye orb, and then this black eye orb. The black eye orb is for story. This is to get that Firekeeper soul back that Lautrec, which it says Lautrec the Guilty, has stolen. He killed that Firekeeper after we freed him in Undead Parish, and he killed her and ran away back here with her soul. Why? That's really speculation, but there's whole lore videos to that. I actually can't remember what most people concluded on. But basically, he kills her, steals her soul, and then he hides away back here. And he's an evil person because it says I invaded him, and it says the guilty after. So here he is. I'm trying to shoot him with my bow to see if it does any damage. I'm not seeing any numbers, but I'm getting headshots. But it turns out I'm not doing any damage to him. So instead what you have to do is go ahead and run down this hallway. He's got these 2 friendly phantoms of his that are going to defend him. You've got a sorcerer on the left and a guy with the pike, which is the really long spear. I said partisan in my Darkroot Garden video, which is wrong. It's the pike that's the long one. The partisan's just a little bit different attack. But anyway, so you've got this guy with the pike, and he's going to attack you too. And you also have Lautrec to worry about. The only thing you have to do, though, in this situation here is kill Lautrec. So if you can get his phantoms distracted on something and just hit Lautrec, you're already doing a lot better. Now, the sorcerer here is stuck trying to cast sorcery at me. He is actually blocking his friends, and I couldn't tell if they're all stuck. He was just in their way. So now these guys are going to come running up here. You can kill the sorcerer and the guy with the pike. It doesn't really matter. If you kill them, they both show up if you lose. And if you do die in this situation, you just go back and use the black eye orb again. Lautrec will laugh at you and say, oh, back for more, and then you can start and do this all over again. So basically, I find it easiest to just run around in this upper section and try and get like a power attack, because they like to roll, but you can still hit them while they're in mid-roll because they're not really dodging you, they're just rolling to get closer or ambush you in some way. So that's usually my strategy, is just to keep rolling around and getting these guys to follow you. Hit them when they're not really expecting it. And so that's what I keep doing here. You can try using spells or pyromancy or something, You can see that the sorcerer dude is pretty weak, so he's actually fairly easy to kill. You just gotta worry about the other guy that's gonna be in your way. But I kill Lautrec, you get a souvenir of reprisal, and you get sent back home. Just don't get killed right now while you're getting sent back home. And that's basically a mock blue eye orb invasion. That's what it would be like. If you invaded somebody that was guilty, it would say, you've invaded the world of so-and-so the guilty as a spirit of vengeance. So you'd be blue. And then you would kill them and win a souvenir of reprisal. In fact, the whole phantom thing to guard that guy is also something that happens because a lot of people have a friend or try to summon a person so that they don't die. At least that's what they do in the newer games. But you get the Firekeeper Soul and a Ring of Favor and Protection, which gives you more health, increases your stamina regeneration rate, and gives you more equipment load. But it can't be taken off, or rather it can, but when you do that, it breaks. So you're basically reduced to 1 ring slot. So this is when I start my farming for my Silver Knight gear. You can see the path that I was taking. So I'm going to go ahead and fade out to when I have everything. So welcome back from your little farming trip. And now you can see what my character looks like and what I have. I went ahead and bought Twinkling Titanite from the Giant Blacksmith and fully upgraded the Silver Knight Straight Sword to +5, which is 262 plus 80, with an E scaling in strength and a C in dexterity. I thought it was going to do a little bit more in strength, but I was wrong. It doesn't really matter though, because the weapon damage is awesome. You can see that the other one, the longsword, was 144 plus 82. That's what I was dealing with. And so after that, I've gone up like double the amount of damage by switching to this sword. And I suppose if I was upset about my strength scaling, I could try and find something that scales a little bit more even with my strength and dexterity or something like that, like a halberd or a great sword of some kind or something like that. I'm not really worried about it though, because the Silver Knight Straight Sword is a long sword and is just pretty fun to use. I used it my first time ever playing this game. It's what I beat doing the first time. I also picked up a Silver Knight Shield, and I got that up to +3, which makes its stability up insanely high for a medium shield, which is great. And you can see there's no more having to hit the Silver Knight anymore when I riposte it. It's dead. And so I'm really happy with the character now. It took a little bit to try and get this stuff. It took longer to get the shield than it took to get anything else for me. But it's a lot better than what it was before I cut the video. I'm going to switch to Fire Orb here, just for a little bit bigger blast radius. I've had this for a while, but haven't been using it. And Fireball's been doing the trick, but this will give me a little bit of extra damage and will allow me to have 6 castings instead of 8, so less castings, more damage. I don't use it that much, so it's pretty much a win-win situation for me. Now, we're on our way to fight the boss of this area, which is a very key boss fight in this entire game, not just the area. Because when you beat this, you get the ability to warp from bonfire to bonfire. Now, it's select bonfires, but it's all your main ones. Like, you'll be able to warp in Anor Londo, you'll be able to warp to Firelight Shrine, you'll be able to warp down to the depths, you'll be able to warp kind of down into Blighttown, and it's a lot of your good warping locations. And so here I'm just showing the Silver Knight shield. It's got 65 lightning defense, which isn't too bad. It's got 71 stability, which is much better than the other shield. I actually open up my inventory again to show you here that I go from 55 stability and 80 magic defense and worse than everything else to 71 stability and a little bit better in everything except magic, which this boss does lightning. And so the safest route, again, is to run up here and go kill the Silver Knight Archer and then run into the boss fight. You can kill the sentinels if you want. I find that I like taking out the archer, because if you don't, you either get hit by the sentinel or you get hit by the archer, and then you end up using a flask before you even do the boss. And this is going to be one of your most difficult fights that you've had. It's probably the most difficult fight that you've had so far. Because even if you summon Solaire, there's not a good chance of you winning it. Not your first time, anyway. It's a very awesome fight. It's basically the first key fight that people remember that are like, whoa, this is when the game gets serious type of thing. So avoid your sentinels, and you can run straight into the boss fog. And so here we have the nostalgic Ornstein and Smo fight that everybody talks about. It's their first experience of really Dark Souls, just really showing them what the game's all about. So with this fight, it's just not fun because you've got to deal with both of these guys. Ornstein's pretty fast. Smo, even though he looks really big, can also be pretty fast when he does his charging attacks. And if you damage Smo, but then kill Ornstein or something, Smo will come back for a Phase 2, which isn't something that's happened so far in this game. He will come back for a Phase 2 with all of his health. So it doesn't matter if you damage both of them and basically kill both of them right now. If you were to take both the health bars down to 1 and then kill one, the other one comes back with full health. So your main strategy is to just focus on one and try and get them separated. Now, I haven't done this fight in a really long time, and so I'm not really the best example of dodging and stuff. I do dodge a lot of attacks, but in the end I end up with 2 flasks in reserve. And so I feel like I could have done better, but it's a tough fight. It's one that's gonna punish you and you're probably gonna struggle with. Now, if you have access to internet gaming and all of that, your speeds are good enough, you can summon people to help you with this fight. A lot of people do. They summon 2 phantoms to help them. You can also summon Solaire. He'll help you out with this fight, except he really only survives, if you're good enough, he'll survive this first phase, but not the second phase. If you're really good at the game, you'll be able to get him to survive both, but typically he dies somewhere between halfway through this phase and like the beginning of the next phase. So he's here more of a distraction so that one is fighting him and one is fighting the other. I'm doing this solo to show you that it can be done solo, and that if you're stuck and don't have Solaire or something, maybe you killed him and he's not around, you're going to have to deal with it this way. Which isn't too bad, it's just that you have to worry about both bosses. Now, the problem with this is that your camera is pretty much your biggest enemy. It's gonna be in your way, it's gonna lock on to one of them, not both of them, and so when one jumps away like this, he's gonna go off screen, you're not gonna know what he's doing. And so I try to keep locked on to Smo most of the time, thinking that I can hit him, but then stuff like that happens. I didn't know what Ornstein was doing. I took a chance, went to hit Smo. I did damage, but Ornstein came in and punished me. You're going to notice a lot of times we're getting trapped in corners like this, getting hit by Smo's charging attack, because that hammer is just crazy huge and does a lot of damage. And you're probably going to die quite a bit when you're doing this. I'm not going to lie, it's not an easy fight. And so really the strategy here is it depends on which one you want to fight now. You either fight Ornstein and then have to deal with Smo as he's powered up, or you fight Smo and have to deal with a powered up Ornstein. That's what happens in the next phase. And you kind of have to choose whose soul do you want. You don't get both for beating both, you get one. So if you kill Smo first and you're left with a powered up Ornstein, you will get an Ornstein soul, which will allow you to make his weapon, which is the Dragonslayer spear. Pretty cool weapon for more dexterity based people. If you're looking to use the hammer that Smo is using, you have to kill Ornstein and deal with powered up Smo, and then kill Smo and you'll get the soul of Smo, which allows you to make his hammer. So basically whatever one you kill last determines what soul you're gonna get and what boss weapon you're gonna be able to make. It also determines whose armor you can buy, because you can buy boss armor. I haven't shown you yet, but if you decide you want to be big and fat and really heavily armored like Smo, because his armor's really good for defense, it's just ugly, you can kill Smo last. If you want Ornstein's cool looking armor, which most people do, you have to kill Ornstein last. And so in this fight, I go ahead and I try to deal with Smo first. Killing Smo means dealing with Ornstein later, and then you have to kill Ornstein and you'll get his soul and everything. The only problem with that is that when you go ahead and try and do it this way, Smo is the slower of the two by far, and so it's really hard to get Ornstein separated from Smo. If you're going after the other way, where you want to deal with Smo last, Ornstein can zip across the room and leave Smo behind in the dust. So it's not something that you really have to worry about with him too much. I mean, they're still going to try and stick together, but there are times like this where Ornstein's over here. I could have hit him there and punished him, but I couldn't. I had to go back to Smo, and by the time I made it back here, Ornstein was ready to go again. So this whole fight, if you're doing it solo, is just about playing keep away and hitting one when you can, but trying to dodge both attacks. Ornstein does a lot of stabs, a lot of speedy attacks that are meant to catch you off guard. He's throwing lightning now, and I'm attacking Smo, and so he sees the opening and goes ahead and attacks with a fast attack. And it's something that I really can't defend against because I don't have time to turn around and look at it. You could try to keep locked on to Ornstein the whole time so that you can see what he's doing, but then if Smo goes off of camera, you might get hit with a charge attack. Eventually, you'll get to a point where you kill one of them, and you'll get a special cutscene for either one. If you do it this way, you're going to see Ornstein absorb Smo's power. And now you deal with Giant Ornstein, who now does body slams like Smo, but they're lightning charged because he's lightning. If you kill Ornstein first, you'll see Smo smacking Ornstein's body with his hammer, and then you fight Smo with a lot of his attacks, but he gets lightning now. Like, his hammer will be constantly electrified. Giant Ornstein is probably the harder of the two because his spear is a little difficult to read. It's got an area of effect attack radius when it slams into the ground, but it really doesn't look like it because it's a pointy weapon. So really with his thing, try and learn some of his attacks. See if you can differentiate between what attack is what. watch out for the spearhead that's now going to stick through the pillars we've been using to our advantage. And watch out for these lightning attacks. I get grabbed several times in this fight, which is not something that is really that helpful. But I guess you can see what not to do. This lightning body slam is actually kind of deceiving with its radius. You would think that it's a little further than it is, but it's not. It can actually be pretty close. You can run in and hit him once or twice, and then go in and hit him again if he does it again, or whatever the case is. Try to dodge that grab attack. It's pretty devastating if you don't. So a lot of this, Ornstein is not very good if you're right next to him. He can only really do the body slam at this point. If he tries doing side sweeps, he typically misses. So try and stay close to him, and you'll do a little bit better. You'll be able to hit him a couple more times. And with your upgraded Silver Knight sword, you're probably doing a lot of damage. There's another grab attack. You can see why this is probably going to be your first memorable fight in the Dark Souls series if you're starting with this game, because this is the most challenging fight that you're going to have to deal with so far. Even the later fights sometimes aren't as challenging as this. So this is really a nice introductory lesson into what this game can be about. Personally, one of my favorite fights is this one, just because there's really nothing else like it out there. So defeating them, you get 50,000 souls, and the Leo ring if you kill Ornstein, which that is one of the 4 rings. And what the Leo ring does is it boosts your counterattacks. So if you block with a shield and then attack an enemy, and you get that little white burst attack that I explained in like the first video, I think, then you will do more damage when that white burst happens instead of the normal, which is kind of cool. It's more for spears because you can block and then attack behind your shield when you're blocking, and that's mainly what that's for.
Thou hast journeyed far and overcome much, chosen undead. Come hither, child. O chosen undead, I am Guinevere, daughter of Lord Gwyn and Queen of Sunlight. Since the day Father his wounded obscureth, I have awaited thee. I bequeath the Lord vessel to thee. And beseech thee, succeed Lord Gwyn, and inheriteth the fire of our world. Thou shalt endeth this eternal twilight, and avert further undead sacrifices.
So basically, we just learned what we're gonna have to do. You can join a covenant. She's gonna say the same thing if you talk with her. You can join her covenant, which is the Princess Guard. It's mainly for co-oping and for support healer type characters. We're not to the point where it's really gonna be beneficial right now. The good thing about her covenant, though, is if you join it, you're going to have a better chance of connecting with people online for co-op. So if that interests you, you can join her and do that. And by killing Lautrec, you can get his armor right there, which it's alright. It's not really the best armor out there, but yeah, so what Guinevere says is that if we take Gwyn's place and link the fire, inherit the flame of the world is what she says. It's also known as linking the fire. Then we will be able to undo this curse and avoid undead sacrifices. So that basically nobody else has to die for this curse. And she gives us the Lord Vessel, which allows us to warp. So now you can choose to go to Firelink Shrine. And after a short loading screen, we're back at Firelink Shrine. Much, much faster than what we've had to deal with before.
Well, fancy meeting you here. You did much enough about. I am grateful. You know, I was thinking the gates, the old fort. Is that your doing? Yes, I knew it. It seemed like an unlikely coincidence. Well, am I fortunate? This light of Catalina thanks you sincerely. Please, take this as a token of my gratitude. There you are. I'll be heading down below shortly. There's nothing worthwhile up above. No worries. Venturing is my life. I'm prepared for the worst. There you are. Now,
And so he gives you a Myth Force, which is a projectile miracle. And so if you don't have any yet, that's going to be your first one that you can use. And it's alright. It basically, you send out a white beam, and when it hits something, it explodes and knocks things back and does damage. It's pretty cool.
Thank you. I am Anastasia,
but it's not really
the
like
restorer.
super powerful or anything.
Now I can continue my duty as a keeper. But I only hope that my impure tongue does not offend. Forgive me. I am impure. My tongue never intended for restoration. Please, if you have any heart, leave me be. I wish not to speak.
And so, by giving the Firekeeper soul back to where the Firekeeper was, you restore her back to her location, and Firelink Shrine is now a bonfire you get to sit at once again and power up and do whatever you need to do here. All of that could have been avoided by killing Lautrec the first time you see him. So, if Firelink Shrine was a major inconvenience, I think I told you that you could kill him way back when he met us back here and gave us the sunlight medal. This was probably like the second or third video. I think I mentioned you could kill him, but if I didn't, you could kill him then, and he wouldn't put out the fire, and you wouldn't have to go to Anor Londo and fight him and all of that. You don't get humanity, and you don't get his armor from doing that. You will get the ring. So there's almost no real reason to do it other than story.
Hello there. I was expecting you. As promised, I will share my sorceries. I'm afraid that you are unable to learn sorcery. The basic framework, you see, it cannot be taught. Oh, do not fret. Life isn't sorcery. You will find your own way. Don't frown with regret. Peer forward with your head.
And so, basically, if he says that to you, you don't have the intelligence to even use one of his sorceries that he sells. So you might need 15 intelligence minimum to use one of the sorceries he's going to give you. And you can't talk to him if you don't have that ability. There's no point. The game's basically telling you, hey, talking to him, you can't get anything that you're going to be able to use anyway that's going to be beneficial. So you'll have to buy from this guy if you want any sorceries. And if you've bought all those, chances are you've leveled up your intelligence high enough anyway to talk to Big Hat Logan.
Oh, hello there. I'm pleased to see you safe, as always.
So I'm going to go ahead with my 60,000 souls that I have and upgrade my pyromancy flame. Now that might seem like kind of a waste of souls, but you can always go back to Anor Londo, farm Silver Knights, or kill the Royal or Elite Sentinels by the boss fog or whatever. You can always do that to get more souls. When I ran around trying to get my shield, I think I had like 72,000 souls, which I used to buy upgrade material instead. So Anor Londo is a really great place to get your character leveled up if you need that extra time and extra souls. So now basically you have two options. You can go to Frampt here, and you can give him the Lord Vessel. He'll tell you to place it. He'll take you somewhere and tell you to place it with him. You can talk to him here,
you have done it.
And he'll congratulate you.
The Lord Vessel, after 1,000 years, it is you. It is really you. Forgive me. I really should calm down. Now, let us take that.
Now, that's one of your options. You can talk to him and give it to him. There's another option where there's another serpent like him, and you can place it with that guy instead. And that will allow you to join the Covenant that allows you to invade people. To do that, though, you have to go through New Londo Ruins, which you have to go through by default anyway. You don't know this yet. This is more for people who are returning to Dark Souls, who have beaten it once. You can go down and go this way, but you can totally do this your first time playing ever. And so, really, you have a choice. You place it with Frampt, or you place it with the other serpent. His name is Darkstalker Koth. And he, like I said, controls that invasion covenant. They're called the Dark Wraiths. And so the Dark Wraith covenant is what allows red invaders to show up, and they have infinite uses. There's a special armor set, there's a special sword involved, there's a special weapon called, or shield called Dark Hand. You can actually pick it up from killing an enemy and looting it off of him, but they guarantee you one. And so you have a choice. Do you want to stay with Frampt and use his Titanite and item conversion thing that he does, or do you want to go with Koth and join this covenant? Because when you choose one of them, the other one will get upset. So for the purpose of furthering the story right now and learning why we're coming down here and what we're doing, I'm gonna choose Frampt. But you can totally not do that if you decide you want to watch me. Hold on to your Lord Vessel, don't go to Frampt. He'll say, now let's go somewhere, and don't let him take you. Walk away, do something, and don't talk to him until later. But you'll have to come down here and clear this area to talk to the other serpent, which we're not even ready to do. I think next video I'll go ahead and do that, because this is one of the paths you have to take anyway. It's either this or one of the 3 other areas, so I might as well do this one next.
What a brilliant flame. Please.
So I'm just talking to my magic blacksmith. I'm giving him the enchanted ember, and he really, really wants it. He says it's like the best ember ever. And it doesn't really matter if you talk to any of the other blacksmiths, they'll say that they can't take the ember anyway. So you basically have to give it to him if you want to use the effect. You can't just, like, hold on to it to spite him. He doesn't really say anything. He'll just be like, oh, come on, you gotta give that to me. But there's really no point in you holding it. You can't sell it. There's no other use for it. You either give it to him and use his smithing effect, or you don't give it to him and just never use the thing. And you can't take it with you into the next game cycle, so you might as well just give it to him. And so, like I said, after Anor Londo, you split into 4 paths. You go down to New Londo as one of the paths. You go up to that area in the beginning of the video I showed called Duke's Archives that was blocked by a golden gate. You go past Blighttown even lower into the Demon Ruins, or you go down in the Catacombs past where we fought Pinwheel into the Tomb of the Giants. Now, if you want to get the Dark Wraith Covenant, you must do New Londo next. You can't even access the other 3 areas unless you place the Lord Vessel, which is what you do if you side with Koth or Frampt. So for the purpose of being able to show each area and show you what it's like and kind of all of that, I'm going to place it with Frampt, which means when I do New Londo, I will be rejected by Koth. He'll yell at me, he'll be like, hey, you can't be who I'm looking for, and then he'll go away and I won't be able to talk with him anymore. There's actually a way to get both. It's pretty specific, so I have done it like once. It's really not a big deal, but if you do want both, if you want to be able to be in the Covenant and have Frampt, you can look that up too.
Now, place the Lord Vessel on the altar. What is it? Place the Lord Vessel on the altar. No reason for pause at this point. Very well. As Kingseeker, I shall now instruct you, the Lord's successor, in your next task. To achieve your fate, fill the vessel with powerful souls, commensurate to the great soul of Gwyn. Scarce few possess such brilliant souls. Grave Lord Nito, the Witch of Izalith, the 4 kings of New Londo, who inherited the shards of Gwyn's soul, and Lord Gwyn's former confidant, Seath the Scaleless. All of their souls are required to satiate the Lord Vessel. Are you ready? Then we shall return. Stay still for a moment.
So basically, our new task now, since we're only halfway through the game at this point, is to go and kill these 4 lords and put their souls into the Lord Vessel down there. And doing that will allow us to go to the first flame.
I am pleased to see you. Is it? The beings who possess these souls have outlived their usefulness, or have chosen the path of the wicked. As the primordial serpent, I implore you to defeat them and claim their souls. Let there be no guilt. Let there be no vacillation. The beings who...
So that's our task. That's what we have to go do, and this is where you can really do any of them. He said, Grave Lord Nito, Witch of Izalith, the 4 Kings of New Londo, and Seath the Scaleless. You can do any of those in any order depending on which way you go. Now, here's how you're going to want to do these. If you want to do the Invasion Covenant, you want to do New Londo next. If you're a sorcerer, you want to do the Duke's Archives or Seath the Scaleless next. If you're a cleric, you want to do the Tomb of the Giants or Gravelord Nito next. And if you're a pyromancer, you're probably going to want to do the Demon Ruins next, so that you can find some more pyromancy and some unique fire stuff. And so those are your paths, and that's where you get to choose. So next time I will go down one of the paths and show you what to do there.